If Old Monkey had this kind of Dharma power, he would simply pour the little vase on the mountain. Who cares about fowls and beasts, crawling or winged creatures? Wukong? Cried the Bodhisattva. Stretch forth your hand. Hurriedly rolling up his sleeve, Pilgrim stretched out his left hand. The Bodhisattva pulled out a twig of her willow branch, after having dipped it in the sweet dew of her vase, and wrote on his palm the word delusion. She said to him, "Hold your fist and go quickly to provoke battle with the monster spirit. You are permitted not to win but to lose. Let him defeat you and chase you back here. I have my power to subdue him." Obeying the instruction, Pilgrim turned his cloudy luminosity and headed straight for the entrance of the cave. Holding his left hand in a fist and the iron rod with his right, he shouted, "Fiends, open the door." Those little fiends again went inside to report. "Pilgrim's son is here again." "Shut the door tightly," said the Monster King. "And don't mind him, dear boy," shouted Pilgrim. "You chased your old man out the door, and you still wouldn't open up." The little fiends reported again. "Pilgrim's son is using that little something to insult you." All the monster said was, "Don't listen to him." After he had shouted for a couple of times and found the door still tightly shut, Pilgrim became enraged. He lifted the iron rod and with one blow punched a big hole in the door. The little fiends were so terrified that they ran inside, crying, "Pilgrim's son has smashed our door." When the Monster King heard these reports and discovered that the front door was smashed, he bounded out the door and, holding the lance, yelled at Pilgrim, "You ape! You really don't know when to stop. I let you take some advantage of me and you are still not content. You dare come again to oppress me by smashing my door. What sort of punishment should you receive?" "My child," said Pilgrim, "you dare chase your old man out your door. What sort of punishment should you receive?" Embarrassed as well as enraged, the Monster King picked up his lance and stabbed at Pilgrim's chest, who also lifted his iron rod to parry and return the blow. They fought for 4 or 5 rounds when Pilgrim, still making a fist, retreated with his rod trailing behind him. The Monster King stood still before the mountain and said, "I'm going to wash and scrub the Tang monk instead." "My dear boy," said Pilgrim, "heaven is watching you. Won't you come?" When the monster spirit heard these words, he grew even more enraged. With a yell, he dashed before Pilgrim and attempted to stab him with the lance once more. Our Pilgrim wielded his iron rod and fought with him for several rounds before retreating again. "Monkey," scolded the Monster King. "You were able to fight before for at least 20 or 30 rounds. Why are you running away now when we are just settling down to do battle?" "Why, worthy child," said Pilgrim, chuckling, "your old man is afraid that you will start a fire." The monster spirit said, "I'm not going to start the fire. You come up here." "If you are not," said Pilgrim, "step over here. A gallant fellow should not beat up people in front of his own house." The monster spirit, of course, did not know that this was a trick. He lifted his lance and gave chase once more. Dragging his rod, Pilgrim opened up his left fist and the Monster King was completely deluded. All he had in mind was to give chase to his adversary. The one running ahead was like a falling meteor. The one chasing from behind was like an arrow leaving the bow. In less than a moment, they saw the Bodhisattva. Pilgrim said, "Monster spirit, I'm scared of you. Let me go. You have chased me to the South Sea, the residence of the Bodhisattva Guanyin. Why aren't you turning back?" The Monster King refused to believe it. Gritting his teeth, he persisted in his chase. Pilgrim, with one shake of his body, slipped into the divine luminosity that surrounded the body of the Bodhisattva and disappeared. When the monster spirit suddenly discovered that Pilgrim was gone, he walked up to the Bodhisattva with bulging eyes and said to her, "Are you the reinforcement Pilgrim's son brought here?" The Bodhisattva did not reply. Rolling the lance in his hands, the Monster King bellowed. "Hey! Are you the reinforcement Pilgrim's son brought here?" Still the Bodhisattva did not reply. The monster spirit lifted his lance and jabbed at the heart of the Bodhisattva, who at once changed herself into a beam of golden light and rose into the air. Pilgrim followed her on her way up and said to her, "Bodhisattva, you are trying to take advantage of me. The monster spirit asked you several times. How could you pretend to be deaf and dumb and not make any noise at all? One blow of his lance, in fact, chased you away, and you have even left behind your lotus platform. Don't talk," said the Bodhisattva. "Let's see what he will do." At this time, Pilgrim and Mach-A both stood in the air shoulder to shoulder and stared down. They found the monster spirit laughing scornfully and saying to himself, "Brazen ape, you're mistaken about me. What sort of person do you think that I, holy child, happen to be? For several times you could not prevail against me, and then you had to go and fetch some namby-pamby bodhisattva. One blow of my lance now has made her vanish completely. Moreover, she has even left the treasure lotus platform behind. Well, let me get up there and take a seat. Dear monster spirit." He imitated the Bodhisattva by sitting in the middle of the platform with hands and legs folded. When he saw this, Pilgrim said, "Fine. Fine. Fine. This lotus platform has been given to someone else." "Wukong?" said the Bodhisattva. "What are you mumbling again?" "Mumbling what? Mumbling what?" replied Pilgrim. "I'm saying that the lotus platform has been given to someone else. Look. It's underneath his thighs. You think he's going to return it to you. I wanted him to sit there," said the Bodhisattva. "Well, he's smaller than you," said Pilgrim. "And it seems that the seat fits him even better than it fits you. Stop talking," said the Bodhisattva, "and watch the Dharma power." She pointed the willow twig downward and cried, "Withdraw." All at once, flowers and leaves vanished from the lotus platform and the auspicious luminosity dispersed entirely. The Monster King, you see, was sitting actually on the points of those swords. The Bodhisattva then gave this command to Mach-A. "Use your demon-rooting cudgel and strike back and forth at the sword handles." Dropping from the clouds, Mach-A wielded his cudgel as if he were demolishing a wall. He struck at the handles hundreds of times. As for that monster spirit, both his legs were pierced till the points stuck out. Blood spouted in pools as flesh and skin were torn. Marvelous monster. Look at him. Gritting his teeth to bear the pain, he abandoned the lance so that he could use both hands to try to pull the swords out from his body. "Oh Bodhisattva," said Pilgrim. "That fiendish creature is undaunted by the pain. He's still trying to pull out the swords." When the Bodhisattva saw this, she said to Mach-A, "Don't harm his life." She then pointed downward again with her willow twig and recited a spell beginning with the letter O. Those swords of constellations all changed into inverted hooks, sharp and curved like the teeth of wolves, which could not be pulled out at all. Only then was the monster spirit overcome by fear. Holding onto the points of the swords, he pleaded pitifully in pain. "Bodhisattva, your disciple has eyes but no pupils, and he could not perceive your vast Dharma power. I beseech you to be merciful and spare my life. I'll never dare practice violence again. I'm willing to enter the gate of Dharma to receive your commandments." When the Bodhisattva heard these words, she lowered her golden beam and approached the monster spirit with her 2 disciples and the white cockatoo. "Are you willing to receive my commandments?" she asked. Nodding his head as tears fell, the Monster King said, "If you spare my life, I'm willing to receive the commandments." The Bodhisattva asked, "You wish to enter my fold?" "If you spare my life," replied the Monster King, "I'm willing to enter the Dharma gate." "In that case," said the Bodhisattva, "I'll touch your head and give you the commandments." She took out from her sleeve a golden razor and approached the fiend. With a few strokes, She shaved his hair off and turned it into the style of the Thai mountain crowning the head. The top was completely bald, but 3 tufts of hair were left around the edge so that they could be knotted together into 3 tiny braids. Grinning broadly on one side, Pilgrim said, "How unfortunate for this monster spirit. He looks like neither boy nor girl. I don't know what he looks like. Since you have received my commandments," said the Bodhisattva, "I won't treat you lightly. I'll call you the boy skilled in wealth. How's that?" The fiend nodded his head in agreement, for all he hoped for was that his life be spared. The Bodhisattva pointed with her finger and called out, "Withdraw." The swords of constellations dropped to the ground, and the boy did not bear even a single scar on his body. Then the Bodhisattva said, "Huyan, you take the swords back to heaven to return them to your father king. You needn't return here to meet me, but go back to the Putalaka peak to wait for me with the other devas." Mach-A obeyed and sent the swords back to heaven before returning to the South Sea, and we shall speak no more of him. We tell you now that the wildness in that boy had not been wholly removed. When he saw that his pains were gone and that his thighs had healed and, moreover, that the hair on his head had been made into 3 tiny braids, he picked up the lance and said to the Bodhisattva, "You don't have any true Dharma power to subdue me. It's a kind of chicanery, that's all. I won't take your commandments. Watch the lance." He lunged at the face of the Bodhisattva, and Pilgrim was so mad that he wielded his iron rod and was about to strike. "Don't hit him," the Bodhisattva cried. "I have my punishment for him." She took out from her sleeve a golden fillet, saying, "This treasure used to belong to our Buddha, who gave it to me when he sent me to search for the scripture Pilgrim in the land of the East. There were 3 fillets altogether, the golden, the constrictive, and the prohibitive. The constrictive fillet was given to you first to wear, while the prohibitive fillet was used to make the guardian of my mountain submit. I have been unwilling to part with this golden fillet. Now that this fiend is so audacious, I'll give it to him. Dear Bodhisattva." She took the fillet and waved it at the wind once, crying, "Change." It changed into 5 fillets, which she threw at the body of the boy, crying, "Hit." 1 fillet enveloped the boy's head, while the rest caught his 2 hands and 2 feet. "Stand aside, Wukong," said the Bodhisattva, "and let me recite for a while the golden fillet spell." Horrified, Pilgrim said, "O Bodhisattva, I asked you to come here to subdue a fiend. Why do you want to cast that spell on me?" "This spell," said the Bodhisattva, "is not the tight fillet spell, which is the spell cast on you. It is the golden fillet spell, reserved especially for that boy." Greatly relieved, Pilgrim stood to one side of her to listen to the Bodhisattva's recital. Making the magic sign with her fingers, she went through her recitation several times, and the monster spirit scratched his ears and clawed at his cheeks. He curled himself into a ball and rolled all over the ground. Truly one word could reach the whole region of sand. This Dharma power so vast, boundless, and deep. We do not know how that boy manages to make his submission. Let's listen to the explanation in the next chapter.